few years ago, my family and I took a vacation to a ski lodge for Christmas. It just finally worked out where we all had off work and school or could take some time off without penalty. We chose a lodge in Colorado that we used to vacation to frequently, but we had all gotten busy with work and family life. My husband, 6-month-old daughter, and myself were the first to arrive to the lodge, so we had a little time to settle in and get reacquainted with it. My husband had only been there one other time with me, but I had been there many times before. The lodge was decked out for Christmas with a huge, probably 15-foot Christmas tree, tons of tinsel on the banisters, and many other decorations. My husband, who's rather sarcastic, said it looked like Christmas threw up in there. Our room was beautiful, with its own 5 or 6 foot tree, lit and decorated with moose, deer, and other outdoor themed ornaments. It was exactly what you would expect at a ski lodge the week of Christmas. I put the baby down for a nap in the pack and play the lodge provided. She went down rather easily, despite the new surroundings. I guess the flight had worn her out. My husband and I were worn out from the early morning and long flight as well, so we decided to catch a quick nap while the baby napped. I don't know how long we were asleep when I was woken by the sound of the baby giggling and making a lot of happy noises. Glancing in the pack and play, she was staring straight up as if someone was leaned over her. She was flailing her arms and legs like she did when we tickled her, only there was no one there. I observed it for a few more seconds, feeling super uneasy. I rushed over and swooped her up. By this point, my husband had woken up and noticed how on edge I was. I was rocking back and forth, soothing the baby, whom also seemed to notice the tension in my body. Later, we met up with family who had made it in for dinner. The lodge had a few restaurant dining options, but it was a tradition to start and end the vacation at the steakhouse. My mom asked me how the afternoon was and if the baby went down for a nap, given she was in a new place. I told her about the experience we had upon waking, and she reassured me babies do strange things in new surroundings. I'm sure she was just playing. It was nothing, honey. Don't stress about her. After dinner, we always head up to the hot chocolate bar for dessert and to further catch up. I was talking to my cousin Lindsay, who heard me talking to my mom earlier. You know, my best friend had something similar happen with her baby over and over. He would stare and smile or point and giggle to seemingly nothing. Then they found out their new house belonged to an elderly gentleman who passed away. They showed the baby his picture, and he lit up and pointed and waved at him as if he knew him. It was really something else, she said. That night in bed, I couldn't shake what Lindsay had said about her best friend's baby. I knew I was overreacting, because this was one incident in a new place, but it kept me up for quite some time. As I was drifting off to sleep, I noticed the Christmas tree in the corner of the room started wigging out. I mean, the lights were flickering at alarming rates. I was just about to wake my husband to see if we should unplug it, when all the lights went out. I walked over to see if it had a timer switch or even a switch that made the lights flicker, but there was nothing. It just plugged into the wall like usual, and the lights plugged into each other. I turned to go back to bed and saw lights reflect off the TV screen. Looking back, the tree was fully lit again, as if nothing had happened. To be able to sleep, I told myself it was just a short, or it was on some sort of timer that made it reset at a certain time. The next day, everyone hit the slopes. Of course, it was different now with a baby, so I hung back most of the day in the lodge, drinking coffee, reading, and chatting with my elderly aunt who couldn't ski due to having 2 hip replacements. She absolutely loved the time with the baby, and we got to catch up. For dinner, everyone was doing their own thing, and my husband and I wanted to squeeze in an order from our favorite pizza place in the area. So that's exactly what we did. We ordered pizza and stayed in, watching movies by the fake fireplace in our room. My husband fell asleep first, as usual. and the baby was sleeping soundly in her pack and play. I woke my hubby up to go to the bed so he didn't have a sore back the next day, and went to the bathroom to remove my makeup and change into my PJs. As I was wiping my mascara, the toilet flushed and I poked myself in the eye rather hard. "Ow!" I exclaimed out loud, hoping I didn't wake the baby. Looking back now, it's funny, but at that time it scared me and quite frankly hurt. If those were the only events that happened, I wouldn't even be writing in, because they weren't huge. I mean, inconvenient and a little scary, but not unexplainable. But as we were sleeping that night, I got up for what I thought was a quick bathroom break. But as I was putting my slippers on, I realized someone was standing at the edge of our daughter's pack and play, bent over, seemingly tickling and playing with her. I was scared beyond measure, not sure if I should make it known that I was awake, afraid they would snatch her and run. So I nudged my husband and whispered quietly, "John, someone's in our room by the crib." He sat up quickly, making a little too much noise for my taste, and just like any man would, lunged towards the pack and play. I knew he would, even though he knew I would protest. But as he made contact with the guy, he disappeared. He didn't run. He disappeared. My husband had braced himself for body-on-body contact, but fell straight onto the floor, left half hitting the pack and play and waking the baby. We didn't stay another minute in that room. I called down to the front desk and demanded a different one, right there in the middle of the night. And I demanded one on an entirely different wing. I wasn't taking chances. I think it would have peed myself, to be honest. You were able to remain so calm, which is such a wonderful quality to have. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm so glad the baby wasn't harmed. I'm also glad she was too young to have any memories of that terrifying event. If you have a paranormal story to share for an upcoming video, email it to the address in the description below. Merry Christmas for those who celebrate. Happy holidays, however you prefer to say it. I hope you all have a safe and happy holiday. There won't be a video tomorrow, Christmas Day. I'll be spending it with my parents. Have fun and stay safe. And with that, see you tomorrow, friends.